One of the more popular hypotheses for the origin of life is called the four-stage hypothesis. The four-stage hypothesis explains how the first organisms were likely products of chemical evolution that occurred in four stages. The first stage involves the synthesis of small organic molecules, such as amino acids and nucleotide monomers. The second stage involves joining these small molecules to form macromolecules, including proteins and nucleic acids. The third stage is the packaging of all these molecules into precells. These precells are essentially liquid droplets with membranes that maintained an internal chemistry different from its surroundings. The fourth and final stage is the origin of self-replicating molecules that eventually made inheritance of genetic material possible. Let's look at each of these stages more closely. In stage 1, we have the synthesis of organic compounds. The chemicals that formed on Earth just after its formation included water, methane, ammonia, and other small inorganic molecules. However, the complex organic molecules needed for life, including sugars, fatty acids, amino acids, and nucleotides, are composed of these same elements. But the question remained, could these complex molecules have arisen from these small inorganic molecules? In 1953, Miller and Urey performed an experiment. They created an apparatus that would simulate the conditions of the early atmosphere of Earth. They included an atmosphere containing hydrogen gas, methane, ammonia, and water vapor. They included a flask of warmed water to simulate the primordial sea. After about 1 week, the apparatus contained an abundance of organic molecules essential for life. These included amino acids, which are the monomers of proteins. These molecules had shown up in the water of the apparatus that was representing the primordial sea. There are a lot of different theories about where life began. These theories include submerged volcanoes, deep-sea hydrothermal vents, and meteorites. Meteorites contain some organic molecules including amino acids, lipids, simple sugars, and even nitrogenous bases. In stage 2, we have the abiotic synthesis of polymers. Once small organic molecules were present on Earth, how is it possible that they were linked together to form polymers, such as proteins and nucleic acids, without the help of enzymes or other cellular equipment? It has been demonstrated in the laboratory that such polymerization can be brought about by dripping solutions of organic monomers onto hot sand, clay, or rock. The heat vaporizes the water in the solution and concentrates the monomers on the underlying material. Some of these monomers then became spontaneously bound to one another, forming polymers. On early Earth, raindrops or waves may have done the same thing, concentrating organic monomers onto fresh lava or other heated rocks, allowing polymers to form. Stage 3 is the formation of precells. An important step in the origin of life would have been the isolation of a collection of organic molecules within a membrane. These molecular aggregates are called precells. Researchers have demonstrated that precells could have formed spontaneously from fatty acids. The first membranes were likely quite porous. This would allow organic monomers, such as RNA nucleotides and amino acids, to cross freely. However, polymers that formed inside were too large to exit. They may have had the ability to use chemical energy and grow. Precells made in laboratory experiments have been shown to divide, producing new precells in a simple form of reproduction. Stage 4 involves the origin of self-replicating molecules. What were the first genes like? One hypothesis is that the first self-replicating molecules were short strands of RNA. These short RNA strands replicated themselves without the assistance of enzymes. Laboratory experiments have shown that short RNA molecules can assemble spontaneously from nucleotide monomers. When RNA is added to a solution containing a supply of RNA monomers, new RNA molecules assemble, using the previous RNA molecules as a template. Some RNA monomers spontaneously join, forming the first small genes. Then, an RNA chain that is complementary to one of those genes assembles. If the new chain then serves as a template for another round of RNA assembly, the result is a replica of the original gene. Each precell would contain its own population of RNA molecules, each with a random sequence of monomers. Some of these molecules would self-replicate, but their reproductive success would vary. Pre-cells containing more advantageous genes that help them survive and reproduce then increased in number, passing their abilities on to later generations. Mutations would have resulted in additional variations on which natural selection could work. The most successful pre-cells would have continued to survive, reproduce, and evolve. At some point during millions of years of selection, DNA, which is a more stable molecule, replaced RNA as the inherited genetic material. These protocells then evolved through several unknown steps to become true cells.